Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like John Mazalek, is deeply afraid of commitment. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Happy holidays, Nate H.
Aw, happy holidays to you. If you have an idea for the opening bit, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Hambone, how you doing? Are you simply having a wonderful Christmas time?
Yes, I am, Nate. How about you?
Good. Then we've got the Christmas tree all out and adorned with terrible ornaments from my history and a bunch of other delightful ones. I have a Green Bay Packers blimp ornament that I have had since I think roughly 1994.
And that's bad? That sounds good.
No, it's not. I mean, it was a period of both of our lives because for whatever reason, I think everyone was fans of the Packers in the 90s.
Brett Favre Packers,
yeah, noted good normal guy Brett Favre at the helm of the 90s Packers. So
yeah, I definitely had one of those foam cheese heads.
I remember that. I remember wearing that cheese head.
It was good. I liked it.
We should bring that back. Do Packers?
I don't think it ever left. I think.
No, you and I need to bring that back. We need to wear more cheese hats.
Yeah.
Cheese heads.
Yeah, like as a fashion statement, not as a baseball or a football thing.
Do they still wear the cheese heads? I don't know. I haven't followed football since they told me to stop being a fan of 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, no, they must. Your brother was just in Lambeau. Ask him.
I should ask him. Well, what a start to this episode. You will be you're heading my way here in a couple days.
Don't dox me, bro.
If you're in St. Louis and you see a car drive by and you're just like, you get like a really horrible feeling, or like it's like a really gross car drives by, that might be Hambone himself returning to St. Louis.
Yeah, look out for a black RAV4.
Wait. You stay at our house. You get to share a room with our fat broken cat, which is great.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, she's doing better though. I've not talked about this on the show at all, but our cat got hurt somehow, but she's healing.
Yeah,
nature finds a way. Life finds a way.
Poor baby girl.
Yeah. Little peepo. Yeah. So we don't know exactly what our episode next week is going to look like because he will be here, and strangely enough, this is far easier to do not in person.
We might do an in-person record. I think I'm going to push for it. I'm bringing my equipment.
Bring it all.
And I understand. It's less easy, for sure. But I like to be able to yell at you in a physical space. It's more fun.
Yeah.
Which you're stupid.
I don't like being yelled at though, so please don't. I don't handle conflict very well.
Old Nady quick to tears is what we call them.
Yeah, fight or flight. I just immediately cry. There's not even. It's fight, flight, or cry. What do you want to talk about this week, Hambone? The news has really dried up right now. Although Mazalek did
bullshit on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Matt Carpenter's available.
Matt Carpenter. Oh yeah, yeah.
I think it is time for the Cardinals to have their third season in a row where they force legacy players to come back and to put on a show for us.
You know what? I was going to counter argue with you, but I find no issue with what you just stated. We clearly have a spot on the roster for a strikeout prone at this point, left-handed bat. Get him out there.
No, I kid. I hope the Cardinals don't bring Matt Carpenter back, but
there's no way.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Matt Carpenter and Albert Pujols are very different players. Um, but like it's happened. I feel as though it's happened 2 years in a row. What would stop it from happening a third year in a row?
Well, I can at least make an argument here for why it should not. I don't think this is a particularly challenging argument to make. With Wainwright, he had just come off a good year, and there was reason to believe that he could repeat to some degree what he had done before. And we needed starting pitching. Now, should you have spent $17.5 million on Adam Wainwright? Like, no, that was definitely a legacy thing. But there's an argument for where he fit in and a reason for his like a need for what he had provided the year before. With Pujols, if you remember, we were both really excited about that signing and calling for it because he had proven that he was still very good at hitting left-handed pitching. So the thought was he would be like a platoon DH for left-handers. And then, of course, we had uh, the
Yeah,
the magical last half of 2022. Matt Carpenter, unfortunately, one of my favorite Cardinals of all time will be, I think, Cardinal Hall of Fame. Like the moment they make
for
him
sure.
eligible for that, he's not really providing much at all right now. There's a reason
No,
why he's just been traded twice and cut after the Braves were unable to find a trading partner for a $4 million Matt Carpenter.
yeah. And no, I'm speaking mostly in jest. I don't think the Cardinals should actually do that. That being said, if they don't augment their pitching staff anymore, at least it would give us something to watch and talk about as the Cardinals struggle through the year. But no, I think unfortunately, like Matt Carpenter, well, the only thing I could actually see happening is him having going back to the Yankees on
Yeah,
with like a minor league invite, just because there was so much magic captured for that 40-50 game period. Maybe, just for shits and giggles in that short
right.
porch. Maybe
Yeah,
that would happen. But unfortunately, I do think this is probably the end of Matt Carpenter's career. And yeah, I fully agree. As soon as he retires, he's a Cardinals Hall of Famer. And he should be a part of the organization. He is a great Cardinal, especially of the time period, from
yeah,
10 years, 2011 to 2021,
yeah.
was just incredible. And he's one of those guys that like um, he is the best possible outcome for Brendan Donovan or the best
Right.
possible outcome for any of these kind of unheralded
So
prospects.
JC.
So, yeah, well, hey, I'll take that.
Right. I'm talking peak outcome, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, 100%. I have wondered, is there a hitting coach future for him?
Well,
I don't
his dad's
he's an
a
approach
legendary
guy,
coach. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, his dad's a legendary coach. So like there's something to that. I think I would not be surprised if Carp came and obviously guys like him, leadership, blah blah blah. That wouldn't surprise me at all if he found a role either in the dugout or in the front office.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I mean, I don't like we have some good approach guys on the team right now. Paul Goldschmidt's always had a great approach. Arenado has had a great approach, but there hasn't been anyone on the Cardinals. And really, it's hard to even think of like outside of the Cardinals versions of what Matt Carpenter brought to the plate in his peak years. I mean, it was truly incredible. Uh,
Yeah, like Joey
everything, every
Votto
at bat. Yeah, Votto.
comes to
Yeah.
mind,
Yeah,
but
there's definitely guys, and we had a privilege of watching Matt Carpenter. Obviously, there are guys that are pushing 400 OBPs, and they're doing it, with a similar thing. But the fact that he wasn't like Joey Votto's hitting 320, 330, and getting a 400 OBP. Even when Matt Carpenter's batting average was down, he was still getting that crazy high
yeah,
OBP because of just the overall approach and the amount that he would foul pitches off was
yeah.
it just every at bat was like fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'll also throw out Soto as kind of a version of that, but
Yeah,
obviously he's a different animal,
yeah.
and one of the best players in baseball right now. But yeah, I mean, there's the list is short.
hmm Yeah. So it'd be cool if he comes back in the organization. I imagine that, yeah, he's going to be at all the ceremonies. Like Matt Carpenter is going to be a part of Cardinal life, I think, for until he decides that he doesn't want to do it anymore. Cause I
Yeah,
imagine he's going to be invited to everything.
yeah, he should.
Yeah. Yeah. Him and Holiday. I think will be ultimately like the long-term representations of the like 2010s St. Louis Cardinals. And then obviously Wainwright as well, but Wainwright even expands bigger and broader than that. But like Carp and Holiday, I think, are who you think of really in that decade. Is there anyone that I'm missing? There's got to be someone that.
I mean, Yachty, it's not like he was dead
Yeah.
during those years.
No, I guess yeah, it's like Yachty and Wainwright and Buchholz. It's just like that's like broader Cardinal history. They are like
Yeah.
inner circle Cardinal Hall of Fame type guys. But like
This
Carpenter and Holiday.
podcast likes Carlos Martinez, right?
We do. I don't know that his legacy is going to last as long as maybe a Matt Holiday and Matt Carpenter.
I know. For
Carmar, I
he
think,
is,
still top 10 in Cardinal strikeout history.
he has not played for another team
Yeah.
in the major leagues since leaving the Cardinals.
Yeah.
It is amazing. Well, yeah, we don't need to retread
There were a
but
lot. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that.
I just
But
loved Carmar
same.
and whatever. He'll be okay. He maybe needs.
Well, yeah, what did he get, like $85 million or something like that from that one contract? So
Yeah, I was more like his mental well-being, the way that he kind of interacts with the world and the people who live in it. That's what worries me about Carmar more than his financial situation. So just get your sleep, Carmar, drink your water, eat your vitamins. It's going to be okay.
I bet he's doing just fine.
Yeah.
I bet.
I'm worried, but you just pave
Yeah.
over my feelings like you always do. That's fine.
My feelings don't care about your feelings.
That's so cool. You're so badass.
Thanks. Let's talk about some of the news that's coming out, some of the rumors. So as we record right now, Wednesday afternoon, Yuki Matsui, who has, I think, been a target for the, not I think, it's been reported that the Cardinals have targeted him. He actually was reportedly in St. Louis last week. He's fit right into the realistic signing window that the Cardinals have. And I think we were starting to get a little hyped about it too, especially
Yeah.
with the visit to St. Louis. It is being reported right now, and I'm seeing reports from both sides of the pond that he is likely to be signing with the Padres. So that's disappointing. There's definitely something like it'll be interesting to see the dollar, like the dollar amounts. I imagine it's not going to be particularly high, and I think Cardinal fans will be annoyed at whatever the dollar price is because it'll be really easy to say, "Man, the Cardinals couldn't beat that." But I think we also have to remember that these guys are players, and like the West Coast is just an appealing place to live and to work, and so like sometimes when you're getting similar offers, we see this where or players, especially from these leagues, really prefer West Coast teams, and that might be at play here, where it doesn't really matter what the Cardinals offered.
Yeah. Well, okay. So 2 points. I'll push back on that because money talks, baby. And
Hey.
if the Cardinals wanted Yuki Matsui, and he was preferring a West Coast team, you'd give him more money
Right.
to come to the Cardinals. You have a perceived advantage with Midwestern players like Sonny Gray, and you have a
Mm-hmm.
disadvantage with Yuki Matsui, and you have to budget and pay
Yeah.
out accordingly. That's how the game works. But the other thought on this is I think it's fine for Cardinals fans to be mad, but I do think it should be noted that this guy is an undersized, not particularly young closer in Nippon professional baseball. And I say that to mean like this is not like a Japanese answer to Josh Hader or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
If you look on Fangraphs, Eric Longenhagen, who does great work, has a write up on him, basically giving him a 40 plus future value rating, which puts him at like a solid bullpen piece. This guy is probably coming out in the 6th or the 7th. He is not usurping Ryan Helsley. And I say all that to mean like this guy exists out there in other shapes and sizes. I think it would
Mm-hmm.
be fun to have Yuki Matsui because I think Japanese players are fun. I like the way that he does it. But yeah, I don't think this is the thing to get mad about if he does end up signing with the Padres.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. This is It's not a crazy miss. Like if they say, okay, we don't want to use the money, it has gotten too expensive for us. We'd rather save these dollars for a Nick Maton, or as rumor would have it,
Yeah.
apparently the Cardinals are at least interested or have checked in or are even in on Josh Hader, which is
Yeah.
something that you and I have talked about. What are your thoughts on this?
It's I go back and forth on this, and I would it be fun to have Josh Hader in the Cardinals bullpen? 100%,
Yeah.
full stop, a blast. You have one of, if not the best left-handed closer in base or relief pitcher in baseball in Josh Hader. You have a top 3 righty relief pitcher in Ryan Helsley at the back of your bullpen. We've talked about JoJo Romero. We think Gio is going to have a bounce back year. There are other names that the Cardinals have picked up in the offseason to be excited about. That gives you that becomes a massive, massive strength for this ball club. Um, and I'm starting to kind of talk myself into it, especially if we're done augmenting the starting rotation, which I don't think the Cardinals should be done. Like, let's
Right.
be clear. If I get to choose Yamamoto or Josh Hader, of course I'm taking Yamamoto. Um, but as far as ways to augment the bullpen, to augment the pitching staff, to improve the team, I, I I wouldn't be mad about it.
I mean, it's the best reliever on the market, right?
Right.
So, like, it would kind of be like the thing with Contreras last year. It's like, were there better other machinations, other ways of building your roster? Like, yes, could the Cardinals have gotten in on um, Sean Murphy, pulled off been a part of that crazy Contreras swap, maybe, and maybe that would have been a better outcome. But for what was available for money, Wilson Contreras was the best possible option on the market, and they went and got him. And if they've decided that a reliever is where they want to spend their money now, you cannot do better than Josh Hader. And it really would be pretty incredible if Ryan Helsley is your seventh or eighth inning guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we've heard Mazalak say in a very recent interview that they're trying to shorten games. They want they either want starting pitchers who will go deeper, or they want to make their bullpen so good that they can shorten games. And you could not do better than Josh Hader. And I have some concerns, like you just stated, like, is that the best case use of their money? Um, Probably not. I imagine he's going to get a big deal. This isn't going to
Well,
be your
let's
standard like 2-year reliever deal. He's going to want 4 or 5 years at 20 plus a year, I would think.
let's talk about that, because I think that's the most fascinating, and that's what's kind of clicked it in a little bit more for me and got me a little more excited than I was kind of just like thinking about Josh Hader in the abstract. But I'm just going to pick on Fangraphs has a crowdsource. They crowdsource the predictions for
Right.
the deals that they give out, and if you look at it, it's been shockingly accurate. It's off by a year or a couple $1 million per player, but it's like they basically nailed the Shohei Ohtani actual value.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty accurate. So I think when we're talking about this number, we're not just pulling this out of our butts. But with the crowdsource estimate on Josh Hader's next deal is going to be 4 years, $72 million total, and that equals $18 million a year. And to me, I mean, when you're talking about dollar per war, when you're talking about what it does to your bullpen, and like, I think the fun factor is worth, I don't know, a couple $1 million a year at
Mm-hmm.
least. It's not my money. I don't give a shit. Um, I don't know, man. It
Yeah.
sounds pretty fun.
If it's actually that one, I kind of feel like that might be low, but
It might be.
maybe I'm overestimating what a 30-year-old, or I don't know if he's still 29, but 29, 30-year-old reliever will get on the market. But like, he is, I've said it before, I think he is on a Hall of Fame track, as a reliever.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been assuming some team is going to give him like 105 or something like that, and make him like a central part of their off season, and even that, I'd probably be okay with that as a Cardinal fan. But I've just been expecting somebody to like blow him out of the water, and then the Cardinals end up signing like a Nick Maton for 221 or something like that.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, like, is it truly the best allocation of nearly $100 million? Like, how much more would you need to pay to get a Jordan Montgomery or something like that? But if you are going to get a reliever, hell yeah, Josh Hader, hell, like, go do it. I don't care if he doesn't actually want to win and will stay in the bullpen once once they're out of the playoffs. You know, that shows real risk assessment and a willingness to think about today and tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a reliever. He's got to cash in right now, right?
Yeah,
It makes all of the sense in the world for him to get as much money as possible.
yeah,
But it seems like he has some interest in coming here. It's been reported. Um, and again, I think that what Cardinals fans need to remember is like the Cardinals could very easily run a $230 million payroll if they wanted to. It's all
yeah,
this self-limiting bullshit that we're dealing with.
right.
So in that sense, hell yeah, baby. Let it rip. Go get the best closer in baseball. And honestly, because of the blip that happened in 2022, where he was kind of crossfiring improperly, and it seemed like his mechanics were out of whack. Like maybe that does get you a little discount. There's a chink in the armor, and maybe other teams that don't want to invest $100 million, they're shying away from that. So maybe it does fall down to that rate that was predicted, but I think the Cardinals should really consider it. I think Cardinals fans should be asking for this, and I think it would be so much fun to watch on a nightly basis.
Yeah, we feel way better about our ancient old man rotation if the bullpen is, has a Hater and all of the other guys. And because we've been excited, we're going to talk about Nick Robertson again here in a minute. But like, I think the Cardinals already are putting together a pretty good bullpen
Yeah,
with what they have today. So if you go out and have the best on the market, it becomes a real strength. And you start to look at how the team wins games in a slightly different way. Like,
yeah.
you're looking
Well,
at your starters only needed to go 5 innings, 6 innings at the most.
everybody was so critical of Ali Marmol's bullpen management last year, and we said on this podcast several times, like, well, if every lever you pull drops a load of shit on the field, that's not
Yeah.
so much your fault. And I think that's the best thing that Mo's done this offseason is given Ali and the team there a lot more levers to pull, and I think we'll be able to mix and match, ride the hot hand, and hopefully find some. Hopefully Nick Robertson just really breaks out.
Yeah.
Hopefully Guillermo Zuniga really breaks out. Wilking really breaks out. There's a lot of options and there's reasons to be optimistic.
Yeah. When you have to use 3 to 5 relievers every single game, like, no matter what, it's going to go poorly. Like, sure, every once in a while you'll get a game where they all click and you get through it cleanly. But for the most part, like, it's all entire small sample size. Someone's going to blow up that game. And then it's super easy to pick that
And
one as the problem and not all the other ones. So
and if Mo's little plan works, the starters stick around for 6 or 7 innings and then you unleash a fresh and effective bullpen. See a lot of game like you're talking about games getting shorter, with this offense, you can do the whatever the exercises, the stretching to understand how that could be a winning
yeah.
formula.
Was there just a ghost in your room?
What?
You just like you were like, huh. And like you were looking around like something, like there was something spooky in your room.
Oh no, I think I had too much coffee this morning. I'm amped up.
I don't know if the ghost of Christmas yet to come was there to make you stare at your gravestone.
What the fuck?
I
Is that what
watched Muppet.
happens?
Yeah.
They go look at the gravestone?
Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah.
Jesus. Okay, I guess I need to rewatch that. That's
Man,
sad.
Muppets Christmas Carol is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rewatch
Okay.
it.
All right. I
Yeah.
will. I like the
Yeah.
Muppets.
They make him go and like dust off his gravestone and it says, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Damn, they're just like, you're gonna die, you old bitch, and that's
Yeah,
it.
you're gonna die, and everyone's gonna love it. That's the message.
Shit. All right.
There's a whole scene where everyone's like, "Yeah, the old bastard's dead. Ha 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 ha." Like then they're like stealing his shit to sell and
Damn.
whatnot. And Scrooge is like, "What poor fellow is that?" And it's like, "Well, who the fuck do you think it is,
Yeah.
Scrooge?" They're just
Oh,
showing you. Yeah. Anyway, I'm working on my Muppet Christmas Carol Tide 5. I'll keep workshopping it. We don't need to do it right now.
I
But
honestly, I think it's workshopped. You're done. Take it out. Hit the road.
watch the movie though. It's good. Muppets are funny. I like
Okay.
Muppets. You like the Muppets?
Sure, dude. Leave me alone. What? Yeah. Who doesn't like the Muppets?
I don't know.
I
If
thought you don't
anyone,
want.
I would think you.
What the hell? That's messed up. Come on. I'm not like this soulless monster. Speaking of Muppets, I
Mm,
watched Return of the Jedi the other day. Some Muppets up in there.
that's like a pretty good segue. I mean, that's a great one. Are you going in like an order, or are you just like, I'm gonna watch Return of the Jedi?
I
Like,
flipped it on. Yep, just wanted to watch it. And I don't mean to be too takey, but Ewoks are good.
yeah, I like Ewoks. I think that's people who are taking a thing that is not like people want Star Wars to be more self-serious than it actually is, you
It's
know?
not, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, like, there's a scene where like an Ewok is killed by one of the stormtroopers, and they all come around and they're like
It's
trying
the
to help
saddest
it,
thing in
and
the
it's
entire
it's so
series.
sweet. Yeah, what is
Yeah.
who doesn't? If you don't like Ewoks, at me, bro. I know that's like the most tired, like 50-year-old take, but I was watching that movie and I was thought these are good.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Okay,
fun.
yeah, all
Yeah.
right,
I've been watching Andor finally.
that's good.
Here's a take. It's good.
It is good. I
Uh,
agree.
among a myriad of boring ass Star Wars stuff, at least we have uh Andor.
I am at the point where I won't watch something until it's like pre-vetted by like 16 people, and
Yeah.
so I just I don't have the patience.
I'm just happy that I know it all ends well for all the characters in the
Yeah,
broader scheme of things.
thank goodness.
Um, yep. All right. Who else do we have to talk about? Okay, let's talk about Yamamoto. And probably for the last time in the Cardinal context,
Yeah,
because it certainly seems pretty obvious at this point that it's going to be a mega contract with like the Mets or the Yankees or still possibly the Dodgers, but it really seems like it's down to New York versus New York.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, we have been, and you in particular, have been making impassioned arguments for why this makes sense for the Cardinals, and all those are true. But it certainly seems like it's gotten to the point where it's only the top dollar markets that are still in on him.
Yeah, and it's really disappointing. Like the Cardinals can be that team if they want to.
Yeah.
We broke down how the Cardinals can offer him the big money contract, give him the opt-outs that he needs. I think the Cardinals should be at the table and they should be
Yes.
offering him really whatever he's asking for, especially things that are outside of specific dollar leverage, giving him those opt-outs, making him feel comfortable. Obviously, I do think the Newt Bar factor is real. We've talked about that. But it ain't over till it's over. I will
Yeah.
say, if we hear on background or if Mo comes on KMOX in a couple of weeks after he signs and says we were actually never really involved, I will be quite mad and frustrated with this organization. But that's nothing new. But they should absolutely be involved. There's nothing limiting them. To that
Yeah.
point, though, I do think it is important to note that there are two other really good pitchers out there who are probably much more likely and much more within the Cardinals' financial ceiling that they put upon themselves with Snell and Monty. And
Hmm.
as this has moved on, I don't know if it's the cold of the winter and I'm just bouncing off the walls and going crazy, but the Snell idea is becoming more and more attractive to me. I say that because his age, he's got two Cy Youngs, and I think that because he is a flawed misfit toy that doesn't really fit perfectly into lefty ace strikeout. Like he walks people. He's got these kind of bumps and bruises. If that would allow him to fall to the Cardinals, and I do think while he might be a frustrating pitcher to watch because he can't find the zone all the time, there's no doubt in my mind that the Cardinals would be a significantly better team with Blake Snell on the team.
Yeah. Well, and this year, man, 2023, like a lot of that stuff is true and has been about Snell for his entire career. But the last like 4 months of the season, not a small sample size, he was basically incredible the whole way through.
Right.
And is it that he is just a a high variance guy, and that's just how he's going to be, where it's going to be like 3 months of excellence, 3 months of middling, and it all ends up being pretty good? Or maybe, in his late 20s, he has finally figured out that blend of control, and he's about to really take off, which would be crazy because he has already won 2 Cy Youngs, which is quite an accomplishment. So like there is this world where it's like there is still upside in Blake Snell, which I think is incredibly appealing. That said, like so I agree, and I have been I have been excited, or I have been saying from the beginning too that I would like the Cardinals to sign Blake Snell, but I don't think it's going to happen because I think what's happening right now isn't that these guys' value is lowering and like they're not getting what they want, and they're afraid to sign because they don't want to sign for a low dollar or anything like that. I think it's just simply that they're waiting for Yamamoto to sign, and then the teams that missed out on Yamamoto, who were maybe offering 300 million or whatever it is going to be, will be like, oh, well, we can still get Snell for 200 million, and he's going to end up getting an insane contract too, just like riding in the coattails of Yamamoto, and same for Montgomery. So they're just waiting until there's not like till the market is looking at them,
I wonder about that though, Nate, because like Blake Snell and Yamamoto are like worlds apart. Age, ability, just the package that they bring to the mound and everything like that. I get what you're saying. But I don't think teams just like throw the bag at players just because they have the bag anymore. Like I don't think that really happens. Again,
but these guys that are trying to sign an ace level pitcher, the Mets, the Dodgers, although that might be a little bit different with what just happened with Glasnow, but the Yankees, even like the Giants, the Cubs, all of these teams that desperately need pitching, almost more so than the Cardinals, as crazy as that is to say. Like it's not that they're just going to throw a bag. It's that they need an ace level pitcher. And so they want to see, can they get Yamamoto? And then it's like, no, okay, then let's go get Snell. And then there'll be a bidding war on Snell. And then there'll be a bidding war on Montgomery. But to the point you made about Yamamoto, the only reason the Cardinals are not in on all of these guys is that Bill DeWitt wants to make sure that his profit margins are as good as high as they possibly can be, and that probably winning 5 more games in 2024 is not worth the like $25 million out of his bank account. So it's strictly a deeply frustrating business decision. It is not a what can we afford and do we want to win? Because if that were the case, it wouldn't, none of this, the Cardinals could double their payroll and still probably be wildly profitable.
Bill DeWitt is worth $4 billion.
Yeah, and the Cardinals have a top 5 attendance every single year. We claim small market, and I know some of that's TV deal stuff, but the TV deal was what, $2 billion?
Yeah, over 20.
So yeah. So it is not. This is not a. It is strictly that Bill DeWitt wants to protect his profit margins. So anyway,
maybe is he going to go on his Mike Ilitch, spending spree? How old is he at this point? I know we kind of had that morbid conversation last week. Maybe I'll just leave it there. But
do you think we could pull off some sort of ghost of Christmas past, present, and future with Bill DeWitt, but it's all around like the Cardinals winning World Series?
I don't think that you and I could do it, but I think as a community, as a podcasting force,
as a podcast community, we need to haunt Bill DeWitt until he purchases Blake Snell.
By the way, he is 82 years old.
Oh, come on, you got to win, Bill. I mean, he already has.
Knocking on. That's the other problem is,
Yeah.
that he has two rings, and that probably
Yeah.
takes it
Yeah.
all, makes it a lot easier for him. But anyways, go
Well, you
sign a
heard it
guy.
here first, folks. Ben thinks Bill DeWitt's going to die soon.
I don't want to. No, I'm not saying that out loud. I don't want that to happen.
and
I don't want
and
anyone to die, Nate.
and there are far worse owners than Bill DeWitt, but it's
Oh,
our
yes.
team. They're the team that we root for, and so it's our right to be deeply frustrated at how they spend their money. So
is Bill DeWitt a top 10 owner in baseball?
it'd be interesting on how you qualify that, because they do end up generally in the top half or top third in payroll, and so there's definitely
Yeah.
teams that are like ringing their organization for profit way more than Bill DeWitt. I don't think he is like the central figure of that, not even really close, but he is a part of that. He's
Yeah.
also one of the main reasons why Manafort, the current
My
commissioner.
guy. Oh, wait. Manfred.
Yeah, mixing
Dumbass.
up Dick
Monfort is the owner. Yeah.
Manfred is like Bill DeWitt's like best friend. So, but for what it's worth, Bill DeWitt is obviously a good steward of like Cardinal history. He obviously cares about that sort of stuff and has spent money on like, preserving and he embraces all that. So you can do far worse, but
Yeah.
again, he's worth $4 billion and they hand wring about, going and getting the best players. So,
yeah. Do you think Rob Manfred has real, like, close friends, personal friends?
I don't know. You see that golf swing?
Guy
How
sucks.
can you not be friends with a guy like that?
That's a good point.
Hey, Manfred, I'll be your friend. Come hang out.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Maybe I can influence him.
Okay.
I'll be his ghost of Christmas future.
Okay.
All right,
let's like it.
You take us into the next thing. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk. So John Mozeliak gave a lovely interview on the radio this week. There were some interesting things that he said. Nate kind of alluded to some of them. I wanted to read a quote that I thought was really exciting. After we are done dunking on the Cardinals, we'll do a little celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
But Mo was quoted on the radio saying, "I was talking to Flo, who is Randy Flores, the other day, and he's really excited. He's really excited about this guy's talent and just reminded me that he's got real upside. So don't block him." And that was all in reference to Victor Scott II.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all, I think the hype train has left the station. We're all very excited for Victor Scott, what he's going to do. I think that it is, I'm sure that this is a joke, but the idea of Randy Flores being like, "Hey, don't do that thing that you normally do and not let the cream rise to the top, and maybe figure out what you're doing with this position player glut." But kind of funny and also kind of exciting. And also, I wonder if it is predictive to how we can expect John Mozeliak to behave post Christmas. And what, like, we've moved O'Neill, right? We need to move more players. We need to consolidate that. Honestly, even if they consolidate it into a position player, I'd be fine. But there's too many faces for the required spots. And making a pathway for Victor Scott, while maybe premature the day that we're recording, is he a spring training away from stealing the center field job? I don't know.
My bold prediction is that by the end of 2024, Victor Scott is the starting center fielder.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. I think that the organization is starting to clue into that. I think we're starting to hear things like this. They're basically like priming the pump. They're getting, like, you're not saying that without actively trying to get your fan base excited about Victor Scott,
Yeah.
And I think he's going to come into spring training with a lot of hype around him. Like the prospect world is starting to notice him as well. Like I'm just seeing his name in more things. And it makes a lot of sense. Like right now, our starting center fielders are a middle infielder and a guy who is Dylan Carlson, who I don't think I need to restate all the the
Yeah.
the the journey that has been Dylan Carlson. So like the, really the spot is wide open for him, you know.
Yeah. And
So
so
I think it
let's
happens.
say, we get to September next year. The outfield is Lars Nootbaar, Victor Scott, 2, and Jordan Walker, a fifth outfielder, probably DC if he's still here.
Yeah.
The infield is Arenado, Wynn, Gorman, Goldie. There's a lot of guys who deserve everyday at bats with other clubs that are not getting everyday at bats. You
Yeah.
cannot tell me you cannot transform those players into some type of pitching or position player or prospect or
Prospect depth.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm still holding out hope for the golden trade of like 3 of these guys for a young starting pitcher. You know, the like um Brendan Donovan, Alec Burleson, and I don't know, one other guy, maybe Dylan Carlson, for
Yeah.
a Jesus Luzardo or a Edward Cabrera or a Brian Wu or something like that, you know. And some of that might be an overpay in some regards, but like I think the Cardinals are in a position to overpay position players um, for a good pitcher because that's where they have this depth.
Well, and it's like I think we're fine if we trade those players away and they play well if you
Yeah.
get something good back.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Like you got to trade talent to get talent, you
Yeah.
know? And,
I
and
oh sorry.
no, you're good.
I've been kind of banging the drum about Kyle Harrison, the left-handed flamethrower with the Giants.
Yeah.
It's been said that the Giants are trying to divest some of their pitching depth and getting some more position player. Do you have any quick thoughts on Kyle Harrison or making that kind of trade?
Yeah. I have followed Kyle Harrison for a little while, mostly from a dynasty baseball standpoint, but
Nerd.
that does give me insight on him. And I mean, you can't really find much higher upside in a pitching prospect than Kyle Harrison right now. And not that long ago, he was he was on the path to being the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball, and he was considered the number 1 left-handed pitching prospect somewhere around the middle of last year before he made his major league debut. I mean the upside play there is wonderful. He is a strikeout machine, but he's struggled with control kind of his entire career, and so it is definitely a high risk, high reward. It would be to me that would all come down to what you're paying for him. Teams don't move highly touted pitching prospects for cheap, and then a pitching prospect is exactly that. It is
Yeah.
a prospect. There's a whole trope. It's called there's no such thing as a pitching prospect.
Right.
And my concern about this would be when have we ever proven that we can put the finishing touches on a high-end pitching prospect? Like literally never, right?
Yeah.
So like if it's Kyle Harrison or any of these other dudes who have pitched successfully at the major leagues, even for a small amount of time, I'm taking all those other dudes. But if the deal can be right, hell yeah. I mean, Kyle Harrison looks potentially incredible, but he has a really frustrating flaw, which is bad control, and he
Yeah.
will walk a million people. So
Well,
I guess those are
the
my thoughts.
Cardinals methodology will fix that. You just throw the ball down the middle,
Yeah,
when
right.
in doubt. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be curious. The Giants need a shortstop. The Giants don't really have a first baseman. They also don't really have a DH, and I think there's some, the Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan,
Hmm.
Alec Burleson. There's a match there somewhere. They could also probably use some outfield help even after signing Lee, but something I'm
Yeah.
interested in. But we'll see what
Uh,
happens.
Kelsey, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but if they could somehow trade Tommy Edman for something like a Kyle Harrison, that would be incredible because
You gotta do
now
it.
that's the step in the direction of clearing the spot for Victor Scott,
Boom.
and you're getting pitching, but it would probably take more than Tommy Edman to get Kyle Harrison, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kyle Harrison, DC. Oh, maybe somebody else too. Somebody else that's probably pretty good because I
Probably
also think
Burleson.
they're in win now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Burleson makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
One other thing I wanted to hit on before we hit the break is that according to multiple news outlets, Amazon Prime, Daddy Bezos has been in discussions to potentially buy the parent company of Bally Sports. I'll just blabber on this quickly for a second. I think that this is good and bad. I think that if Amazon Prime does purchase Bally Sport, the Diamond Group, which owns Bally Sports, I think that that's the quickest pathway to eliminating blackouts for online viewership. So I think that that is net positive. I personally do not like Amazon. I do not like Jeff Bezos. I want nothing to do with that creepy lizard man. So my personal point of view is I don't think that's the best path forward. It might be the best path forward for the individual viewer, though. So there's positive to that. And I'll just button this really quickly with I still think that the Royals and the Cardinals and the Blues and City and any other kind of major
I guess
the Chiefs maybe
Chiefs.
Chiefs I guess they're on normal TV. But any of these Midwestern cable based sports teams should conglomerate and form an SNY type network and they should just self produce. I think that it makes sense for the consumer. Bill DeWitt and Co. They can make a gajillion dollars off of it. But I think it makes sense. The regional fanaticism that exists within this section of the country, I would be shocked if it wasn't viable. And I think that would be, I just think it would be the best path forward if I got to choose my own way. But I would understand. It would not shock me, and I would understand the rationale if the DeWitts would rather have the rights sold to, Daddy Bezos and just go that route.
I agree. I think it should be self-owned. Cut out the middleman, and we don't need to continue to rely on these mega conglomerates that don't actually care about the product. They are just looking at the bottom line. Bezos buying it is to increase profit margins, and sometimes those things line up. You make a good product, it increases profit margins and whatnot. But big picture, putting it all under Amazon just seems like you're heading towards the same sort of problems that they've had.
Yeah. Like to that point, I think that is maybe a low key benefit of the Cardinals self-producing their broadcast is like they then have to sell their own product for us to want to watch it. So they are motivated. I think it's good for the consumer and good for DeWitt and Co. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want it to happen.
I think that's the long-term eventual conclusion to this, but how we get there, I don't know. Yeah. But like people are getting more and more comfortable with having apps on their devices that are committed to a specific thing. Right. And like even the most like tech, like non-tech savvy person at this point still probably has a smart TV with like Netflix on it or whatever, and if you could make it like, here's the SNY version, here's the Missouri Sports app or whatever, like it wouldn't be that hard to educate people. And I think it would happen. It would be good for the team and for the sport, big picture. But what do I know?
Nothing.
Yeah. All right. We've got some more to talk about, but before we do, we want to remind our listeners that this show is supported on Patreon. Don't go to their capitalistic endeavors, go to ours. If you've enjoyed the show, want to support the time that we put into it week in and week out, we are approaching episode 100, which is crazy. And you want to show your support for that, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Patrons of any level get access to our private Discord. We call it the Bird Score. Tweet, baby. We're having a good time in there. We're talking about planning a baseball movie night and some other things that we want to do with the group. So if that sounds fun to you, you want to connect with other listeners and other fans of the Cardinals, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. You can also leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, which we really appreciate. It really does help. We have t-shirts. All of that is found on our website. And you get one if you join the Patreon. Ben, where can people follow us online?
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds. We're on Instagram at Talking About Birds. We got a TikTok. Check us out on TikTok. If you want to listen to this podcast on Spotify, we are also there. You can email us any thoughts or questions or threats to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And you can find all of that information at talkingaboutbirds.com. I would also like to call out that we got a phone number,
Yes.
848-48-BIRDS or 848-482-4737. If you want to call us, leave a voicemail, or we recently found that this line is available for text message. You could text us, which is fine. We'll take any comers in any way. But we appreciate. We've got some fun interactions so far, and we had a good correction come down the pipeline. And I don't want to dox this person, but I saw that they were their area code that they texted from was from the East Coast. So I'm going to take this as their knowledgeable resource on this topic. But they corrected our evaluation of Nick Robertson, who, as we talked about, the Cardinals recently acquired the Tyler O'Neill deal. I was kind of talking about the changeup. And to be honest, when I was, reading about him, looking at video, it was strikeouts on the changeup. And that seemed to be his dominant pitch. What this person kindly pointed out is that the Red Sox and him were working on a sweeper, slider, slurvy, whatever, and it seemed to turn out some pretty nice results. I will say it was only about 12 innings he threw with the Boston Red Sox. It wasn't all great results, but I think this kind of just illuminates that the Cardinals are focusing on something very specific, and that specific thing is the sweeper. I think almost every pitcher the Cardinals have acquired
Yeah.
either have a sweeper or recently developed a sweeper. So thank you first off to that listener. Appreciate the correction. Yeah, I don't know, just kind of interesting from a Cardinal standpoint.
Yeah.
They're locked on.
I wouldn't even say it was a correction, more just like an addition to the conversation. Because I don't think we
Well, I
talked
felt
about the
corrected,
sweeper,
Nate.
but we do really appreciate it, and it was very funny because I've been pitching this thing on the pod exclusively as a voicemail option, and then I
Yeah.
got a text message and I'm like, oh, well, that works too. So yeah, if you want to send us a note, and you don't want to use your voice, or you're not like keen on any sort of social media platform, you can text us. Pull your phone out. 848-48-BIRDS.
848-482-4737.
That's right. And yeah, thank you to listener for sending us that. The sweeper, it's all the rage right now. Everybody's got a sweeper. Floors are dirty. Bringing out the sweepers.
God, that sucks.
Yeah, that was bad. Remember, you and I were kind of talking about this before the show, but like sweeper's big right now. It reminded me of when the Cardinals drafted everybody off of bat speed.
Yes.
And then like none of those guys made it to the majors.
Hey, Trey Fletcher's
Nick Plummer,
still somewhere. Yeah.
Nick Plummer, the first
Yeah.
overall pick, So I hope it doesn't go the way of the of the bat speed focus. But it you know what, I will say, it's just nice. It's nice to see that they have a plan, that there's like, there's some consideration behind
Yes.
this, maybe.
Now, does it sometimes feel that the plan was drawn with like Crayola crayons on parchment paper or on craft paper? Yes, but
Yeah, or
it
it's
is a
like
plan.
it's trending on Twitter, so they're like, well, we got to do that. Everyone
Yeah.
else is doing the sweeper. Have you heard of this? Have you seen this? Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
It's a sweeper. Let's go get all of them.
Yeah. They're doing it.
All right. Well,
Well,
we're still in the
yeah.
hot stove. There's been some movement around the league. Ben, you want to run us down on some of the stuff that's happened?
The Pirates are moving and shaking. They make a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
of deals. First off, they go and re-sign Andrew McCutchen to a $5 million deal for 1 year. It just copy and paste my thoughts from them doing this last year. It's great. McCutchen's great. Love seeing him in the Pirates uniform, and I love that we get to watch him a handful of times every year now. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Love Kutch.
The Pirates have also signed Martin Perez to a 1 year, $8 million deal. And I think it's whatever. It's a fine deal. Martin Perez, he'll have a fine year. But I do think it puts into perspective the Cardinals deals a little bit better. Like, I would rather have Lance Lynn for 10 than Martin Perez for 8.
Yeah.
So Mo's looking good so far.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think we talked about it a little last week too, with like the Eric Fetty contract and stuff like that. Like, and I think the one that we're going to talk about here in a minute too, like the picture that's being painted around the Lance Lynn, the rush to get Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson, it is looking better
Yeah.
than it felt at the time, and that's good. So we want to make sure we acknowledge that, because us and everyone was pretty harsh on Mozeliak for these, and of course he's going to know more about the market than we do. But I'm
Yes.
still not ready to say all is forgiven, because I think we need more. But
Yeah.
it does feel a little bit better.
And it is, I think, a criticism that we have fairly had over the last couple of
Yes.
years, that Mo has not read the current dynamic market quickly enough. So I think it's all, we're on stable ground, I think.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of pitching, so the Dodgers acquired Tyler Glasnow and Manuel Margot last week. The more exciting thing, if you're a Dodgers fan, I suppose, is Glasnow signed an extension that will total 5 years, $136.5 million.
It's pretty frustrating how much this has happened, where we're like, this is a thing that we think the Cardinals should do because it seems like a good idea, and then the Dodgers go and do it really, really well. Now, what they traded for Glasnow, I don't know that the Cardinals have a Ryan Pepio in
Yeah,
the, because if we did, we're probably just starting him and not
right.
trading him. And the Rays will probably be pretty happy with how this trade ultimately ends up. I think they got a good return for Glasnow and Margot, but it is just so frustrating when now the Dodgers have, I think was maybe the best available trade candidate for your rotation. Now they have him, and then they extend him to, I think, a pretty reasonable deal. Now, Glasnow is what he is, more like Glass now.
Got him.
Yep. But a team like that can sustain that sort of thing. So it's frustrating. It's really annoying that the Dodgers sign Ohtani and then go and do that, and they seemingly aren't done. But that's what they do. They're willing to spend.
Yeah, if they also get Yamamoto, I think all other baseball fans are allowed to have a day or two of I don't know, depression,
Yeah.
anger, crying, all
Yeah.
of it.
All of it.
It'll be a sad day. And oh, never mind. Yeah. It this this narrative that like baseball is better because Otani signed with the Dodgers, like that's a better thing for, like,
Oh,
that is such
yeah.
horseshit. That makes
Yes.
no sense.
Was
The
that
only
was that
reason
Heyman?
I've
Like,
heard it. I've been Verlander. I've heard a bunch of people
yeah.
say bullshit like that. The only reason he was kind of invisible on the Angels is because they're the Angels. They're
Yeah.
been like the most aggressively mediocre team in
Mhm.
baseball. That would not like they're special in that sense. They have they had the two best players in baseball for 6 years and never made the playoffs and really couldn't put together a real team or a real pitching staff. That's like this whole
Yeah.
yeah.
It
I don't even want
well,
to talk about it.
yeah. Is it bad for baseball that Tony Gwynn was a Padre and not a Yankee? Is it bad for baseball that Miguel Cabrera was with the Tigers and not with the Dodgers? Like, no, it's a very frustrating narrative. I would argue that it's actually better for baseball that your stars are spread across and not centralized on coast teams. But
It's such a tired, lame take, but
yeah,
yeah. Anyways, the Giants have signed Tom Murphy, 2-year contract, $8.25 million. The rich get richer. I think they already have Patrick Bailey, who I really like from the catching position. They go out and get Tom Murphy, who I also really like. He's a great
yeah,
defender, a great game caller, and has surprising pop. I think good move for the Giants.
yeah, yeah. It's not an exciting move, but
No,
it's the right kind of move for we're in that part of the offseason too, where teams are just adding to depth, adding a little bit here and there to just sort of lift the floor of the
right.
team.
Maybe the Cardinals will do something here too.
Mm,
The Royals have signed Michael Wacha, 2 years, $32 million.
yeah. This is another one. That's what I just hinted to, where it's like, okay, this does put the perspective a little bit more on the Lynn and Gibson deal, because we all were saying like, well, why Lynn for 10 when Waka's out there? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, Waka got $32 million. And again, that's not a lot to them, but it is 3 times as much as they had to give to Lynn. And it's it's a multi-year. Like, I think it's probably I'm actually it's been pretty cool to see that the Royals are doing their version of like going for it this year. They've stated that they see the AL Central as available and they're making moves in order to compete. Now they're like small dollar moves like this, but with some of their young players, Bobby Witt might be the best player like in baseball outside of like an Ohtani, but he's just only 22 or 23, so he hasn't we'll see how it goes, but he was incredible last year. So they've got some pieces, and the AL Central sucks. So like they could compete next year, which is crazy because of how bad they were last year. But like it won't take a lot for them to move into competition, especially
No.
considering that division.
No, and I think you can squint and see. Well, I fully agree with your Bobby Wood Jr., but you can squint and say, "Oh, well, Miguel Garcia could take a step
Mm-hmm.
forward. MJ Melendez could take a
Yeah,
step forward. Vinny Pasquantino could take a step forward. You
yeah.
already have a pretty good defensive team. Let's not forget about the future Cy Young winner out of nowhere,
Oh,
Cole
Cole
Reagans.
Reagans. Yeah,
And I expect that. I think what he's found is real, and I think he's going to come back and have a really nice season. Um, I would love to see it. It's more fun when the team is good in Kansas City than when it's
yeah.
bad. That's for sure.
Agreed.
Moving on, last bit of news, and this was more just kind of stopped me in my tracks. I could not believe this, but part of the Dodgers pitch to Shohei Ohtani, this came out this week, is that it included a video of Kobe Bryant encouraging Shohei to join the Dodgers, obviously recorded before Kobe passed away. There were some reports saying that this was recorded as early as 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that is as soon as Shohei Ohtani essentially came to the big leagues, the Dodgers tapped Kobe Bryant, who's obviously unfortunately passed away, and he recorded a video, and that just kind of blew my mind. That
Yeah,
the foresight, the ability, the just everything involved in that, and then to hear that post death is
yeah.
wild.
It did make me wonder, was this actually just recorded? Were they trying to get him when he initially signed with the Angels and they just like, never used it and then they used
Maybe.
it now? Or did they do it sometime in between? Kind of either way is interesting. It reminded me of this was a sad one, although it ended up well. Do you remember when um the Hayward sweepstakes were going on? There was a story that the Cubs pulled out in part of their presentation. They showed Hayward how it was like some documentation from like 2 or 3 years ago where they had been planning for Hayward's free agency since like
Oh,
for like multiple years. And they use that as a way to show like this isn't just a thing we've decided to do. We've been waiting for you. And I think rightfully it helped sway him to decide to sign with the Cubs. They showed how they saw how he would fit into their plans of winning a championship. And they ultimately did, although,
yeah.
he's a perfect version of the C student getting to ride along with the rest of the A students. But it worked. Players want to know that teams want them. And I don't think Ohtani was necessarily too worried about people wanting him, but I imagine some of like the star power of all of it and playing for the Dodgers and all of that is appealing to him. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Kind of wild.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up league news.
All right. We're going to end this episode with a return of one of our oldest
Oh my
games,
god,
Ben.
game
We're
bends.
going game Bens. We're going back to If You Had To.
If you had to.
Oh wow, that
You
even
made
that sound
that.
effect sounds old. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you made that on like Garage Band in like 2012. I think that's your voice just pitched down.
Wow.
Um, this is If You Had To Holiday Edition. All
Wow.
right. I've got 2 lists here. I've got one list of Cardinal based questions for you, and I've got one list of if you like basically 24 Christmas would you rather questions from dayswithgray.com, which
What
is
the hell?
intended for children. Um,
Okay.
so I'm going to ask you one of those, and I'm going to ask you a baseball one, and then and then we'll go back and forth. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll start with a baseball one. Ben, if you had to pick one position player to break out in 2024, who would you pick for the
Is
St. Louis
this
Cardinals?
St. Louis Cardinals?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty easy for me. I'm going to go right to Mason Wynn. And I only say that the only reason I don't pick Jordan Walker is because I think he was kind of breaking out there towards the end a little bit. Like, I think we know what we're going to get. But Mason Wynn really didn't have a chance. He just wasn't. He only played under 40 games, still getting his cup of coffee. I think Mason Wynn is really going to blow people's minds. I think the defense is going to be top tier. I think he's going to be a Gold Glove type player. And I think the bat, he's not going to hit 20 home runs, but I think the bat and the base paths are going to be dangerous enough that we'll be talking rookie of the year. It's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah. It's funny. I thought you might pick Walker for obvious reasons, but my pick as well was Mason Wynn. The team has a fundamental change to it with a Mason Wynn at his potential prime, so I pick Mason Wynn as well.
Also, I'm really excited for the Mason Wynn Jordan Walker bromance to really blossom. It's going to be incredible.
All right, Ben, if you had to pick, would you rather have a carrot nose that tells jokes or a wish granting snowman top hat?
Wish granting snowman top hat. That's not even close.
I know, it's not even close.
I could break the world with that. I could do it. Yeah. Come on now.
And you kind of already have a carrot nose that tells jokes. So
what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that one felt lopsided, but it's literally the first one on the list. I'm like, well, I gotta go with that one.
Kids are stupid.
All right, Ben. If you had to pick one pitcher to break out in 2024, who are you picking?
One pitcher to break out in 2024. That one is less fun. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to go with newly acquired Ryan Fernandez. He is. I think we're excited about him, but he's still a little bit under the radar. I think he is going to lock down a spot in the bullpen and just rack up a bunch of Ks, get strikeouts left and right. I think the bullpen. It's easy to be, especially in the middle of the winter, it's easy to be like sour on the Cardinals and everything like that. But I'm really buying the bullpen stuff that we're doing this year.
Too.
And I think he's going to be, just because of name recognition and experience, I think he's going to be the one that pops off the page.
Yeah. That's a good pick. I was thinking Matt Liberatore because we did see it a little bit last year. But also, I want everyone to shut up about the Randy Arozarena trade, and it will go a long way if Matt Liberatore becomes a very valuable part of the St. Louis Cardinals.
I would love to know where the Cardinals are viewing his future. Is he a reliever? Is he a starter?
Yeah, I think, didn't they say earlier that they are going to enter spring with him stretched out, but they're not ruling out the bullpen?
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Yeah. Right now, I bet he is. It's like him or Zach Thompson are 6 and 7.
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
So, okay. Would you rather have a gingerbread house that smells like candy or a snow fort with Cocoa Springs?
Cocoa Springs. What does that mean?
I would imagine like a spring, like a pool of water, but it's full of cocoa.
Ew. A gingerbread house that smells like candy. I guess the gingerbread house that smells like candy, because I'm thinking of like a spring filled with cocoa and like people getting into it. And I'm not going to eat that. There's also, I have this thing. This is so stupid. I'm sorry, but I have this, when food is in too large of a quantity, it begins to gross me out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, though I'm confused because I've seen you eat before.
Thank you. Yeah, right.
It's normally it's a trough like situation.
Sure.
Quantity is vast. So,
well then, thanks for that. But like, get a plate of spaghetti. I'm on board. You fill a bathtub with spaghetti, and I'm disgusted. I don't know why that is, but I feel that way.
Spaghetti's a good one. It's like worms.
Sure.
Are you encountering abnormally large quantities of food
No,
besides
but
your normal diet on a day-to-day basis?
I cannot wait to see you in real life. No, but I feel like I see it on the internet, and I don't know,
Okay.
maybe like TV shows or movie. Like you see it enough that I've developed a distaste.
Okay. Pick one more addition. If you had to pick one more addition that the Cardinals make, not including Yamamoto, who would it be? Out of all the options we've discussed, who's your number one? Like, it would make you the most happy.
Are trades in a part of this too? Or are you just talking about from
Yeah.
the free agent pile
Just players that are that seem available.
that seem available? Ooh, well, I mean, Logan Gilbert.
Okay.
That is still the number one guy. I wish the
Yeah.
Cardinals to go off, and that seems relatively realistic. Another guy, if we're playing the game to the rules that you're saying, is Tarek Skubal, who I know I've talked about on this show before.
Yeah, and there's like no way that the Tigers will trade him, but you know, that would be cool. Yeah, Logan Gilbert probably is number one. I'm really starting to ride the Jesus Luzardo train. I think he still has a ton of upside and is already good right now. So I'd be very excited for the Cardinals to get him.
I would love that to happen. When we're talking about a real world, I think that there's zero chance that they part with Jesus Luzardo.
Okay. Let's see. Would you rather have elf shoes that make you jump higher or Santa's gloves for magical hugs?
What the fuck does that mean? I definitely don't want to hug anybody. So I think by default, I'm going with the shoes that allow me to jump higher. I'm not a very good jumper. So I think any higher would be great.
Yeah, I mean, this seems another obvious one. Although I don't know exactly what a magical hug is, so I don't want to
Don't want to
rule that
know.
out
Yeah.
entirely.
Yeah.
But making me jump higher, help my basketball game. You know that I'm a baller, and that would help.
Yep. We all know that.
All right, I got one more baseball one for you. The Cardinals have entered into some sort of magic clone machine, and they can take one player, clone him 9 times, and he's playing every position. He's your entire team next year. Who's that one player?
So your entire team.
So your lineup for a game is 9 of this one guy, and he's also pitching.
Wow. He's also pitching.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's your whole team.
All right. So my first thought was Nolan Arenado because I think he could play short. He could play second. He could obviously play first. I think he'd be a fine catcher. He's got the arm to pitch. I don't know if he has the wheels to make it in the outfield.
He's very slow.
I think he could do everything.
He was even slower in 2023.
Yeah.
Now
Wilson Contreras is interesting because he hit ball hard.
Yeah.
We know that he can play the outfield. We know that he can catch. If he can catch, I assume he can play third baseman and first base to a non-embarrassing level. But he might not be able to play up the middle. He's got a good arm. He could throw. Tommy Edman can play everywhere, but he's got a weak ass arm. He'd get hit around the ballpark.
Yeah.
This is not a good pick. But I think it's the pick that I'd most like to see. And he's young, so I think he could make it work. I'm going to go with Jordan Walker. He's got an absolute cannon. We know he could play third base and first base. He would be bad in center, and he would be hilarious to watch at short and second. But having Jordan Walker's power up 9 at bats or 27, or every time, I think would be a lot of fun. Him or Win. Win is probably the better defensive answer, and he can actually pitch.
Right.
But can he hit enough?
That was my thought, was Mason Wynn, because he was a pitcher. And I would imagine those skills would retain to some degree. He's got that cannon for an arm. So it's like, are you either going to try to win games like 5-4 with a bunch of wins and you just hope the hits, sequence together, or are you hoping to win like 18-17 with 9 Jordan Walkers?
I would rather watch the Jordan Walker team, I think, than the Win team, but either would be fun.
Yeah. All right. Last question. If you had to, would you rather ride in a sleigh of cookies or a car made of candy?
Ride in a sleigh of cookies or a car made of candy. This is so stupid. Car made of candy. I mean, car made of candy, as soon as you get inclement weather, that car is done.
Yeah.
So that's pretty stupid. And also, if given the choice in between cookies and candy, I'm going cookies every single time. I'm a cookie freak. I'm a cookie monster.
Yeah, that sleigh won't make it very far because you'll. I was gonna say the same thing with a gingerbread house. If you had to live in one, that thing's
Yeah.
not living very long either. You're just gonna
Yeah. But
eat the
I
thing
don't need a
apart.
sleigh to get anywhere. So, if I just have a sleigh
Yeah.
made of cookies that I can go munch on,
You're not even
yeah,
using it as a sleigh. You're just like, this is a collection of
it's
cookies for me to.
just a snack. Yeah, that's my choice.
Yeah. I'm going car candy. Keep it in the garage. It's magical. I think I'm doing car candy.
You live in St. Louis, that thing would melt day one.
Climate controlled garage. I'm
All
spending
right.
50 grand to outfit my garage in a way to sustain my car made of candy.
That's smart.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. That'll do it for this this version of If You Had To and this week's episode. So we will be back next week. Like we said at the beginning, we don't know exactly what that episode is going to be like, but we hope you all have. If you celebrate Christmas, we hope you have a wonderful Christmas. There's a lot of holidays going on right now, so we wish happy holidays to everyone. New Year's is around the corner. Thank you all for listening, and until next week, let's say, I wish upon all of you a car made of candy.
Shut the fuck up. Goodbye. Pod. The very last pod. You pod.
It's getting better. Rocking around the podcast tree. Yeah, listen to my voice. I sing real good like my normal voice. It doesn't sound bad at all.
That's an okay Christmas song. That one's a little.
You don't like
gets me a
rocking around the
little on
Christmas
edge.
tree?
Huh?
You don't like rocking around the Christmas tree?
Not really.
I feel like it's one of the only ones that's like it's got a little bop to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the problem with the Christmas songs is that, like, I don't even necessarily think that I'm not like one of those people who are like, I can't listen to Christmas music as soon as like, it's fine. I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's my like ear is like, there's so few of them. My ear is tired of them all. I've just heard them all since I was 4 or whatever. Like the only advancement we've had is like 2 songs.
Yeah. Which is funny because like every single pop star of the last 50 years has put out a half dozen Christmas songs because everybody is desperately looking for the next All I Want for Christmas Is You, which is going to pay Mariah Carey's great grandchildren's like college tuition on Mars or wherever it'll be.